What's up, everybody? It's Parallax Abstraction, and this is Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. Man, the retro collections are coming fast and friggin' furious lately, so hot on the heels of Rare Replay, we have Mega Man Legacy Collection. This just came out for the PC on Steam, the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, though oddly enough not the older consoles, and it's also out on the 3DS, interestingly enough. So this is pretty cool. This is a collection of all of the NES-era Mega Man games, so that is Mega Man 1 through 6, and you may have seen there at the beginning, it is developed by Digital Eclipse. Some of you may remember Digital Eclipse. They were a label, a subsidiary of Foundation 9 Entertainment, that used to make a whole bunch of these retro packages for different companies, and along with the rest of Foundation 9, they, well, went out of business a few years ago. But they have been revived by one of the original founders of the company, and Frank Cifaldi, who some people may realize is a super crazy, hardcore, retro conservationist, preservationist, if you will. He is all about retro games getting a new lease on life in new ways for the sake of preservation. You should go check out their website. They have a very interesting corporate philosophy and apparently interesting technology that will allow this game to continue on new platforms kind of indefinitely, which we'll see what happens with that. Alright, but as usual, I am here to talk about not the individual games in this collection. I've never done a video on a Mega Man game, but I will have to do that someday. But I'm going to talk about this collection as a whole and sort of what extra value it brings to the table and how well it presents the games. So, let's take a quick look at the options menu off the bat. So this is the global options. There are options for the individual games that we'll get to. Has full controller and keyboard support. These are NES games. The NES was just a digital controller, so using a keyboard with this game works perfectly fine. All the buttons can be rebound, which is excellent. Total Biscuit would be proud. There's even an auto-fire option for people who want the games to be a little simpler. Mega Man 1, for some reason, has a separate button for pausing and selecting weapons, but they've got that there, and that's changeable as well. Same with the keyboard, as you can see. I am playing with a 360 controller, just so you know there. Screen mode, window to full screen, and oh yes, borderless freaking window. This should be bloody law with games on the PC. I am very happy to see that. VSync on or off if you need it. The NES games ran at 60 frames a second. I don't know if this locks to that or not, but I'm just turning it on because it makes recording easier. No option to pick your resolution. Some people will find that kind of a bummer. This just works at whatever your desktop is, so for me that's 1920 by 1080. The games look fine this way, so I don't think it's going to be a problem for most people, but just so you know. So you can go through that. Other little neat things, there is a music player. This is really cool. You can pick all the soundtracks for the different games and listen to different songs from them. Oh, listen to that Crashman funk. Oh, yeah. There's interesting remixes of the songs for the menus of the collection, too, which I think is pretty cool. Would have been really extra neat to have MP3s of these come bundled with the game, but you can't get everything, right? I mean, you want to find these soundtracks in MP3, I'm sure that's not too hard. But you can go through and play all the music at your leisure. Really neat, I like that. That's a nice little addition. You know, simple thing to do, but really cool as well. And in addition to that, so here you can select all the different games. I'm not going to show you all of them because they are all emulated very, very well. I will say that. Digital Eclipse, some of their old collections were not always great at how accurate the emulation was. Not a problem here. These are spot on, as I will show you. So we'll do Mega Man 2 first here. So you get these little interesting additions with each game individually. So there's the database. This is kind of cool. It allows you to scroll through all the different enemies and obstacles in the game, gives you a little description of each one, and you may see there at the bottom, it shows their hit points and their attack stats. So it actually shows you the actual, hidden behind-the-scenes statistics of these different enemies, which is really interesting. You don't see that when you're playing the game itself. In addition to that, you'll see the two little icons to the right of the numbers. So the actual little Mega Man thing means that it's an enemy you can actually destroy. Some of the enemies in the game, like, for example, where is he? Back here, the Goblin. This is actually an environmental obstacle, so you can't actually kill it. So you see that the icon's not there. And then the one to the right is it actually shows you the optimal power-up weapon to take them out with. So as you earn the weapons, if you have them available, it'll actually show you what's the quickest way to take out a certain enemy, which could be really valuable if you're trying to do speed runs or some other type of special high-level play. Really neat, I like that. And you get that for all the games. In addition to that, you also get the museum. So this is a bunch of high-resolution artworks. So production art, character files, which actually you can see here shows the different color layouts of each one. they're very, very high resolution scans, so you can pan around, you can zoom in real close, and as you can see, it's super high detail, even up close. I really, really like this. Sorry if it's sliding around there a little bit. The dead zone on this controller is getting a little tired. So yeah, concept art, like some of this is just really neat, you know, and I love it when they include things like this for historical accuracy. I just think that's really neat. Unused boss sketches. You can actually see a whole bunch of bosses that were proposed for this game that were never actually used. Blastman's looking slick. It would have been really nice if they could have included videos or something like that, you know, interviews with the creators or things like that, but, see, they even got promo stuff here, but I mean, it's pretty obvious, like, the reformed Digital Eclipse is a very small team, so it's pretty clear that this collection was made probably on a shoestring budget. That's probably how they managed to pitch it to Capcom. So, I mean, it's not surprising that they didn't have videos in it, but that would be nice. I hope this does well enough that they get to do more collections and maybe get a little more money to do stuff like that. So, there are options for each individual games, the screen type, the border art if you want to use it, and different filter types. So I'm going to fire the game up here and show you that. You can change all these in-game, of course, as well. So let's get this going. So I'll show you a little bit here. Now this is in the original mode. So of course the NES was a 4:3 non-widescreen system. So if you want to play the games in their original resolution on a widescreen monitor like I am, you can see you're going to have black bars at the top and bottom and on both sides. That's perfectly normal. Purists will probably want to play the game this way, but it does give you two different options for stretching the footage out, which I will show you once we get into the game here. But gotta let this intro go. Wind up to some of the best video game music ever. Mega Man soundtracks were so good. Wait for it. Oh, listen to that square wave metal. So good! Ah, wonderful. Alright. So, I'm gonna do the Metal Man stage. Of course, if you know your optimal boss orders for the Mega Mans, that's the best thing, and Metal Man is the best guy to go after first in Mega Man 2. And once we get sort of more of a full screen image here, I can show you how this stuff works. Alright, so as you can see, so this is the normal 4:3 resolution, pretty much exactly as it was presented on the NES. Arguably the way the sprites and stuff are going to look their purest, if you will. But they did a really, really good job at implementing stretch capabilities for people who want to play on widescreen monitors. So don't worry about that flashing there, that was normal. This is pixel-accurate emulation, and that means warts and all. So the slowdown you used to get in a lot of NES games and there was a lot going on, that's in here. The flicker you used to get when there was too many sprites on screen, that's all here as well. And the Mega Man games had plenty of that. Again, this is a collection being designed for preservation purposes, so they're getting the games as they were originally presented. Some NES emulators actually have a dynamic overclocking function that tries to compensate for the slowdown by dynamically overclocking the CPU speed when it's needed. This does not have that. Maybe some people would have liked that. I personally think that feature kind of wrecks games. If you go watch my video on Double Dragon Trilogy, which implemented something like that, you'll see why I don't like it. So, whenever you're in the game, you can just hit select here to bring up the in-game options. So, save and load game, of course, what good retro collection will be complete without save states? So this does have that. You can save your game, and you can come back to it at any time. So if I were to reset the game like this, and then just go load, boom, there I am. For some reason, there's only one save slot. I don't know why they did that. I would really have liked the option to have multiple save slots like Rare Replay has, especially for people who are practicing for speed runs or to get perfect runs or something, or practicing glitches or things like that. Having multiple save slots would have been a really good idea. It would be really nice if that got implemented in a patch. Hopefully it does, but we'll see what happens with that. So, screen sizes. So you got original, full, and wide. So you can see little previews in the background there, but I'm going to show you each one. So here's full. This is the way I actually prefer to play this collection. So what this does is this stretches the game out on the vertical. So you'll see that there are no black bars on the top and bottom, but there are still ones on the side. So what it does is it anamorphically stretches the image to fill out those top and bottom gaps, and then it stretches it horizontally a little bit to compensate for that while keeping the aspect ratio, which basically means that while the image is blown up, it doesn't look stretched. So it still looks like 4:3, it's just bigger 4:3. Now, as I said, some purists may not like this simply because it is still applying an anamorphic stretch to the pixels, and it will make it look not necessarily as good as it could. You are sacrificing maybe a teeny tiny little bit of image quality here in order to get this bigger picture, but honestly, it's so minimal that I don't mind it. I think it looks fine, if I'm honest with you. So I'm actually happy to play the game this way. I think it's the best trade-off. You get the biggest amount of real estate for the least amount of sacrifice. Now, if you're someone who really, especially if you're playing this on a TV and you really want to make full use of your big screen, you can go to wide. So yeah, what this does is this does another stretch that fills out the entirety of the screen. But because these are not widescreen games and they're being forced into widescreen, as you can see, everything is stretched horizontally. It's just like, bleh, it's just like they pulled it out. Some collections don't do this very well. Some of them, the stretch effect is very pronounced, to the point where it looks almost downright comical in some regards. If you're gonna do, this does it in probably the best way possible. If you have to do it, oh, I am getting boned here. I can usually get this level in one life, but not when I'm commentating, obviously. So, yeah, this is definitely the least visually appealing, but it does take up all the screen real estate, and it doesn't stretch it too badly. So if you would rather have a little bit of stretch, especially if you don't have a really big fondness for these games from the past, and you really want to have the full use of your screen, you have it. Purists will go, that's not the way Mega Man's supposed to look. You're ruining it by playing it this way. You know what? I'm not one of those people. Always give people choices. When you do what Double Dragon Trilogy did and implement modernization options without the ability to play the games the old way, that's where I have a problem. But as long as I have the ability to play it the old school way, I don't care, frankly. So you're going to see here, this screen gives you a really good idea of how the stretching is. So this is wide. So if I pull this up and go full, yeah, it really shows you how big a difference it actually makes. But if you want to play it that way, that's fine, and you have the option to play it either way. So hey, choice is always good. So you can use save states, but the password system, of course, is still here. The Mega Man games didn't have batteries in the cartridges, so you couldn't actually save your game, but what you did is you wrote down a password that represented your progress. So when you came back in, you punched in that password, and you got back to where you were. So, kind of cool, right? So yeah, so that's that. Now, there are also filter options and border art. So I'm going to move on to another game here, and then we'll show you those. So let's go to Mega Man 3. The next game I'll show is one of the later ones. But this is a good example to show you just how pixel perfect this emulation is. So allow me to demonstrate. This Mega Man, oddly enough, had no intro, which was kind of weird. So, you may be seeing something here, so let me pull my mouse out here. See this weird little line glitch here? I actually don't know what caused that, but every NES copy of Mega Man 3 had that glitch in the menu, that little strobing line. And the fact that it's here shows you just how accurate this collection is. So you see when it does the animation there, it's still got that little pulsing line. That's accurate. That's the way the cartridge was. And so they haven't screwed with it. It's the original cartridge as you remember it. All the slowdown is exactly where it should be. And that's a good thing, because speedrunners and people like that in particular actually use the slowdown to their advantages. A lot of people will use slowdown in these old games as part of their strategies in order to maximize their run potential. So it's exactly there. Like, you could play this. You could choose to play this game instead of the NES version, and you'd be getting basically the same experience. I'm just using the auto fire here because I'm being cheap. There we go. So yeah, if you wanted, I mean, if you got like a USB-based NES controller and plugged it in, this would basically be the same as playing it on an NES. There'd be no difference, which is excellent. I love that. All right, so let's show you what the border art is here. So most retro collections have this, and what it is artwork that fills in the black spots if you're not running in a stretched out resolution. So there is border art. There is border art, and there's a different one for each game. And when you cycle through the games in some of the challenge modes and stuff, which I'm going to show you later, the art actually changes based on the game you're playing, which is a nice touch. But I don't like the art very much. I wish they had more options, and I wish you could cycle it, but Mega Man in his like cartoon anime form always looked really creepy to me. And they always have him on the left side of the images in all these games doing that really creepy, like, hello, Clarice, friggin' pose. And I think it's creepy. I mean, I know when you're playing these games, you know, you're staring at the gameplay, not so much the art along the side. But I don't know, man. I just think I don't think it's the best quality art. And I think you want to put cartoon Mega Man in it, creepy as he looks. I don't really care, but like, do you have to have him like staring into your soul like that? Like, ugh. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but I'll leave it on here so you guys can see the ones in the different games. But yeah, would have been nice to have some more art. So I'm going to show you one other option here. So this is the filter option. So what some retro collections do, mostly to give people that extra little hit of nostalgia, is they allow you to insert scan lines. Scan lines are basically an option that makes it look like it's playing on an older, lower resolution TV or monitor. I mean, scan lines in most cases visibly make games look worse, but it makes them feel more authentic. And of course, the new Digital Eclipse is all about authenticity, so they added that in. So we're on the monitor profile right now. So this would be pretty accurate if you were playing on something like a Commodore 1702 monitor back in the day, which a lot of people actually did because the Commodore monitors actually had a composite input on them. Which worked great with the NES, and they were actually, because they were computer monitors, they were actually higher resolution than TVs. They had a higher dot pitch than TVs, so they actually looked really good. I played many an NES game on a Commodore monitor, and it was really good. And this is pretty accurate for how it looked. They did a good job with that, but now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat here, what I'm about to turn on makes the game look a lot worse, but it also made me just giggle and squee when I saw it. I'm going to switch to another game here so you guys can see another one. Let's go to one of the later ones. Let's go to Mega Man 5. Now, once we get into a level here, I'm going to show you this. This just made me go, oh my god. And it's incredible because it would have taken them a lot of work, but it's also something that most people would look at and go, you are out of your frackin' mind. Alright, so let's skip the intro and just get in here because you got to see a stage to understand what I'm talking about here. Let's go Starman. For some reason, Mega Man 5 and I think 6 as well has a weird positioning where you see there's a black bar on the left side there. I'm not sure what happened, but the screen ratio is a little bit off with those, which is kind of strange. But yes, TV filter. Look at this! It's so cool! Oh god, half of you guys are probably going, oh my god, that's awesome right now, and the other half are probably going, what in hell is wrong with you? So yes, so if you were playing games on an NES back in the day, you frequently, if you were using a television, were playing via an RF modulator. And this was a little box where one end connected to the NES and the other end connected to your cable input on your TV, because a lot of TVs, you know, back in my day, before we had HDMI and all that stuff, the only way to get video into a television from a game console, a VCR, what have you, was to use an RF modulator and feed it in through the cable input. The problem is, RF modulators were hot garbage most of the time. Most of them were very cheaply made. They were very, very susceptible to interference. If you didn't have super high quality cabling through the whole thing, you would get, well, this very odd looking wavy effect. And that was basically due to interference. Sometimes it was better than this. In some cases, especially I recall with my old Atari 130XE computer, it was a lot worse. And it often required, you know, fiddling with the cables and the switch and blowing the dust out of it and all this crap. But it looked like this. And this just makes me so happy to see. Like, this, I get it. This makes the game look worse. Like, why would you want to play it this way? You only would if you wanted to, if you had super crazy nostalgia going on and you wanted it to play exactly like you remember. But you know what? They did that. Like, programming this effect in was probably not, you know, a non-effort. It probably took them some real time and thus money to do it. But they did, and they gave people the option to make this stuff look as old school and, wait for it, authentic as possible. And I just love it. I think it is so cool that they went this far. And yeah, I won't say that I'll spend all my time in the collection playing it like this, especially because it also introduces some motion blur, but it's just so awesome that they did it. And I love that they put in that attention to detail. This shows that it was done by people who not only really care about this stuff, but understand what it was like back in the day because they were there. And just, you know what? Kudos to you guys. That is friggin' awesome. All right, I've shown you guys enough there. Oh, there's Dr. Poulet sending me a message. So I've shown you guys enough of that. Let's stop torturing you with that. So, but yeah, all 6 of these games emulated perfectly. I am very impressed with that. They are great, and the options that are here are not as exhaustive as they are in something like Capcom Arcade Cabinet, but as I said before, half the options in Capcom Arcade Cabinet are dumb and no one would ever want to use them anyway. So, I mean, they're cool that they're there, but they're dumb in that they have no practical use. So they give you the stuff that matters here, which is great. But here's where the friggin' meat and potatoes is of this collection, and this is where it probably earns its $15 price tag more than anything and what's going to keep people in. This is the challenge mode. So there are 50 of these friggin' things. Count them, 50. And what they are is they are all a set of basically ROM hacks. They're remixes of a whole bunch of different levels where you have to do special objectives within time limits. And you get gold, silver, and bronze rankings based on how well you do at these different challenges. And there's a ton of them, and it's really, really cool how they implemented it. I think it's so neat. So I'm going to show you one of these. I've only gotten gold on one of them. Most of these, just so you're aware, are balls hard. They are really, really tricky. They require you to actually use the right weapons in a lot of situations. So you start, I'll show you how this works. So the cool thing about this is, so you start with a very generous amount of lives. And you also start with every weapon unlocked in the particular game you're playing. So you can approach these with the optimal weapons. Remember I showed you that screen before where the game actually showed the sort of optimal weapon layout for each enemy. Yes, that little portal thing is not part of the base game. So each of these are tiny little level sections. So when you jump into the portal, it teleports you to the other section, and you have to make your way through there, which I think is just so friggin' cool. I love how they did this. Some of these collections, or some of these challenges rather, span multiple games, so it will warp you between different Mega Man titles in between sections. That's just so neat. And yeah, you unlock all the weapons, so you actually need if you want to get gold time on a lot of these things, you need to use the best weapons for the best enemies, and you really need to learn all the tricks and quick ways to traverse the levels, which I'm not doing here, obviously, because I'm playing this for recording. But yeah, if there is enough to keep you going here for hours and hours and hours, people like speedrunners are absolutely going to love this. And those guys are obviously dominating the leaderboards right now. Oh, by the way, did I mention there's leaderboards? Oh yeah, we're going to get to that. Just you wait. Arguably one of the coolest things is in there. So I've done this challenge a few times now. My best time only earned me a bronze, which I think a bronze is like the everybody gets a trophy award. I think the bronze is basically you get that as long as you finish it, regardless of what your time is. I did get a gold medal on one of the boss challenges, and that was mostly because I used the auto fire button. If I didn't do that, there's no way I would have done it. But I think these are awesome. But I have two little problems with them. One, they do the thing that so many games do of locking away a bunch of the challenges until you beat a certain number of previous ones. At least it's just beat the challenges. It's not, you need X number of gold medals or silver medals or something like that. That's okay, but still, I hate it when they lock that stuff away. It's just an arbitrary progression mechanic, and it's just not very cool and not very fun, in my opinion. I would have liked to have access to everything, but my biggest gripe, more than just locking them away from being able to play them, is that they are locked away from leaderboards. So you can't even view the leaderboards for other challenges until for challenges that you haven't unlocked. So if you want to see some of the leaderboards for some of the toughest challenges in the game, you have to play for hours and hours and hours to unlock the earlier ones. That's a bummer. I don't know why they did that. Like, I'm not even big on locking the challenges in general away, but if you're gonna, fine. But at least let me see the leaderboards, and I'm gonna show you why that's so important later. That's something they could update in the patch, and I hope they do. But again, there's crazy attention to detail here. Like, for example, the fact that one of the weird things about the Mega Man games is that little ready prompt you get. There we go, so I did it. I don't know if I beat my best time or not. Hey, I did, but I still just got a I still just got a bronze. So you can also watch a replay of your run, which is really cool. But one of the things that's, one of the little quirks and eccentricities about the Mega Man games is that little ready prompt you get before your life spawns, that's different every game. The flash pattern is different, and the amount of time ready stays on the screen varied from game to game. It's almost like they couldn't make up their mind the best way to do that. But what they do in here, because you can span the different games, is that ready timer is actually exactly the same when you're in challenge mode. It never changes from game to game. So it makes that evenly balanced to make it a little easier for you to be able to get through the challenges more evenly. So again, attention to detail, incredible attention to detail. All right, so you can see your replay. That's kind of neat. Now, so you have the leaderboard. I'm not going to go flipping through here and looking at my score because at time of recording, this game does have a little bit of a crash bug. This is my third attempt at making this video because the last 2 times I attempted to browse the leaderboards, the game crashed and corrupted the video. But wait a minute, what's that little green button you see at the bottom? Oh yes, my friends, this is the coolest thing. You can watch a replay of any score on the leaderboards, which means you can watch replays of the top placement on the leaderboards, which means you can watch the absolute hyper crazy New Game Plus ultra hardcore savant play. Oh, look at this! I love this stuff. Like, I am a huge fan of watching speedruns. And that's basically what this is. Like, you know, the people who are dominating these leaderboards are all people who have speedrun these games. So they know the best weapon configurations, as you're going to see. Like, look at this! Look at this! Oh, it's so good! So they know the best weapon configurations, they know all the level glitches and the skips, what they call a skip in speedrunning, which is basically using a legitimate glitch in the level that's not cheating, but that skips you past a whole section, and you're going to see one of those in here. And it's great. I love these. And it's cool for a couple of reasons. Number one, watching crazy high-level play like this is just a joy, at least for me. I love it. And secondly, it also is very good for learning, because you can watch these guys play through the levels, and like the 1 gold challenge I did, I learned the optimal way to get through that by watching the #1 speedrunner, or #1 leaderboard guy, I guess. And so you can actually learn the techniques to here's a skip right here. That's legit. That's not cheating. And you can learn from these guys and learn how to play the games better, which I absolutely I adore. I think that's great. And also it helps keep people honest. You know, on PC in particular, one of the problems with leaderboard-based games is that a bunch of dickbags always use cheat engine and basically completely ruin it for everybody. Yeah, I'll show you the Mecha Dragon run I did here. And because all the replays are recorded here, it's great, because while it can't necessarily stop people from using cheat engine, if they do, it's going to be obvious because the footage is recorded. And I love that. I don't know if these games actually have anti-cheat protection in them. They probably don't. You can see how easy that was there. But it would... Oh, that's clever. That's really clever. Promote your Twitch channel. I'm glad I could do that for you, sir. Oh, that background art. Yeah, so it's really, really, it's really good at keeping people honest, and if a person cheats, it's going to be obvious that they cheated. So that's great. And honestly, I could sit here and just watch replays for hours. Like, I could just sit and watch this stuff. I think it's so cool, and I think a lot of people are as well. And really, the amount of value that this adds to the mix is just incredible. And I think it's a fantastic addition. So let's do the Mega Man 1 remix. I actually completed this, but Mega Man 1 is insanely difficult. Also, whoever got to this point is insane, because look at that score. Mega Man 1 was the only game that actually kept score, even though it was utterly pointless. But yeah, this is a really great thing, and it adds value to an already great package. I mean, the fact of the matter is, even though there are 6 complete Mega Man games in here, $15 is a tall order for something like this. I'm sure somebody at Capcom, you know, did the business and figured out that they had the best chance to make the most money at charging $15 as opposed to, say, $10, which is what I would have liked to have seen. I think they would have sold a lot more copies of this at $10, but maybe they believe that less copies for $15 will make more money. I guess so. But it's hard to justify paying $15 for 6 old games. I mean, it's still a steal compared to, say, oh, I don't know, Virtual Console prices, Nintendo. But, you know, just because the Nintendo system is a bigger ripoff doesn't necessarily mean that this one it couldn't also be. But this challenge mode adds so much value to the package, I really think that makes it could make it worth the asking price. If you have even a passing interest in Mega Man, I think you can't go wrong with this. I think you'll have a great time and a lot of fun with it. I think it's great. I really hope it does well enough that Digital Eclipse gets to do other series, or better yet, say a Mega Man X collection. Because I played the NES Mega Mans, but I basically I kind of stopped Mega Man after that. I really never touched any of the X games, which I know is a great sin that I need to fix. Oh yes, you have to use a weapon here. This one, yes. There we go. But yeah, I would really love to see them get a chance to do more collections. And heck knows, Capcom alone has IP for days. So that could definitely happen if this does well enough. And like I said, I would have liked to have seen it for $10, but I think there's enough value in here to justify $15, especially since this game was probably made for next to nothing because there was only a handful of people that worked on it. And honestly, it was very clearly made by people who love this stuff. I mean, that's supposed to be the mission of the new Digital Eclipse, and I think for their first effort, they lived up to it very well. I think this collection is extremely well emulated. I think the menu system is nice, simple and nice. The extra features like the soundtracks and especially the challenge mode they bring are great. The options are pretty good. A resolution option would be good. More save states would be good. And of course, the ability to at least view leaderboards of challenges that you have not yet unlocked would be fantastic because of those replays. But it's a great package and it's really, really well put together. I think I did way better that time. Probably still a bronze. Yep. Oh, well, what are you going to do, right? Let's go out on a... Oh, look, the same guy. But it's a great package, and you can't go wrong with this. And, oh yeah, glitch-tastic. Good first effort, and good on you, Digital Eclipse. I hope this does well for you, and, well, it seems these days Capcom has all but stated their entire business model right now is just making people pay for old games again, because, you know, making new games is hard, yo. But, you know what? If this is the way you're gonna do it, if you have to do that, this is a good way to do it. And if Digital Eclipse's, you know, plans are true and that they hope they can carry this stuff forward to a whole bunch of different platforms, then that's really cool. If their aim is to somehow do digital preservation of this stuff, that is a noble goal and one I get behind 100%. So, good effort, guys. I'm very pleased, and I hope it does well. So, yes, this is Mega Man: A Legacy Collection, developed by Digital Eclipse and published by Capcom in 2015. This is the PC version. You can get it on the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, or the Nintendo 3DS. If you do want to get this on the PC, you can actually buy a Steam key from Green Man Gaming. If you use the little referral link that I have in the description below this video, a tiny, tiny little piece of your purchase goes to help support my channel, which I would appreciate very much. You just get a key that unlocks the game on Steam. It's not some weird third-party launcher or something like that. So you do have access to that. The PC version's great, and the fact that you can play it on a keyboard is really nice. And obviously this will run on a potato. So you got like a laptop or something, this could be a great little game to put on there. I know what's going on mine. So yeah, great collection and well worth picking up in my opinion. My name is Parallax Abstraction. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It does help me out a great deal. And, well, I'll see you guys next time. Who knows? Maybe there's another retro pack on the horizon. Take it easy, everybody.